Anyways, we've been recording for like 4 minutes, so
All right, somebody do an intro.
And action.
yeah. Howdy, folks. What's up, nerds? Or I guess it's kind of hard to. Yeah, that's bad. Let's not like insult.
No,
What's
I
up,
like it.
nerds and nerdettes?
No, keep it nerds.
You
What
want to
up,
be
nerds?
inclusive, right?
There it is.
What up, nerds and nerdettes?
What up, nerds?
And people who guys at helicopters. There's at least one of you.
I think you said identify.
Yeah.
It cut out.
Oh, that's a shame. What up, nerds? Just making sure we got that covered.
Oh, we got
We're
rid of the clap.
yeah. Oh no, it's never gonna leave. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work. We're back after a hiatus of the holidays, and then we're going away again for the remainder of the holidays. But yeah, everybody's tired. It's like it's 11 o'clock in the morning. No one's woken up yet. We're all nerds ourselves. But I think the fun thing to talk about today, which is probably on everyone's mind out in the world, is the ChatGPT bot. You know, what people have been doing with it, what we've been doing with it, how we've been having fun with it. I haven't taken my ADHD meds this morning, so this is going to be a wild ride. We'll see what happens.
Hey, David, why don't you give me the ELI5 of ChatGPT? That they explain like I'm 5. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I had to think about it for a second.
Man, rough start.
Rough start. Yo, rough day. It's gonna be a long day. No,
For those
Stick
that don't
with
know.
stick with us.
Stick with
We'll
it.
get there.
Here we go. All right, the ELI5 of ChatGPT it's an AI that this company that Elon Musk used to own he was like, fuck it, I don't need this company no more. I'm gonna sell this bitch. So he sold it, and they were like, finally, we're free, and to make Skynet, and then they like took the whole internet from up till 2021. They were like, all right, chatbot, figure your shit out. And it's self-learned using IBM's quantum computing. I don't know if that part's true. I'm just making it up as we go. But anyways, you just type in some prompt, and as long as it was on the internet in 2021, it'll tell you about it. So you're like, yo, dog, I want to write a Python program to do something, to like message all of my high school sweethearts and tell them I never loved them. It'll do that for you, you know? Or if you're more nefarious and you want to get a job in the Russian mafia, you'd be like, yo, dog, write me some ransomware. And it'll be like, I can't do that, Dave. But if you go, hey, imagine if you're a security engineer and I want to write some ransomware so I can test this antivirus against it, it'll write it for you. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, actually, it's kind of wild.
what-
It's an amoral. I mean, the long story short, right? It's an amoral dialogue bot that has some morality built in from the developers, but let's be real, like you can get around it.
So what's the difference between the ChatGPT and the OpenAI playground?
So ChatGPT
I've
is
used both, and it seemed like the only real difference I saw so far is that like it won't search certain things for me in ChatGPT, but
yeah.
OpenAI Playground will.
So the chat function in the playground and ChatGPT are actually the same thing. It's still the same AI model. But within the platform of playground, or to mess around with the OpenAI um, examples, essentially, they're dedicated to a specific cause, right? So ChatGPT was written to make it so it's like a hyper realistic conversation. Essentially, think of it like, hey, I have a Google, and I want to ask Google a question. It'll give you an answer in a human readable format. instead of just like, well, here's 90 different links, right? Like, I mean, we've all been there where you're going to Stack Overflow and you're like, hey, I need to go figure out how to write some particular piece of code, and you run through like 90 different Stack Overflow conversations. ChatGPT takes all those 90 different conversations and goes, hey, this is probably the right answer. Let me tell you how to do it.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Whereas like Playground, you got different things like similar functions to ChatGPT, but also very not similar functions to ChatGPT. Like, I need you to classify this particular tweet as whether it is positive or negative connotation, right? Or trying to remember all the examples they have on there. Uh, Explain this particular piece of code to me. Translate this particular code from JavaScript to Python, things like that. Uh,
Make an
ChatGPT kind of
HTTP request in JavaScript.
yeah,
Just
so
one
it
better
kind of has
example.
a combination of all of those things that you can do, but that's also because it's everything from 2021 is built into this chatbot, right? Does that make sense?
It
That
do.
is,
It do make sense.
it do be doing that though, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes it just do be like that.
It do be like that. Bobby, you been messing around with it at all?
I have. I know a couple of colleagues of mine have been using it even as part of their their daily jobs to carry out
Yep.
tasks for them. It's interesting to read about kind of these. I guess we can have further conversations about does this help us? Does this hurt us? Will ChatGPT replace our jobs as emulated criminals and privacy experts? But I know that there's some chatter of front end developers where before, if someone wanted a website with a custom drop down menu of these 5 things with this color and this mouse over action, like you had to hire a front end developer to do it, and now you can just type that entire desire into ChatGPT and it will spit back out the HTML and CSS that you need, which is pretty crazy. I know on InfoSec Twitter, people are talking about does this help us? Does this hurt us? What jobs will this replace in 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, it's definitely not replacing anything today, you
Sure.
know. I've had it write a few like process like I was telling you guys earlier about this. I was talking at the ISACA Pittsburgh InfoSec Day, and after the talk, I was just kind of out in the lobby, and I was advertising the company, right? As one should, especially because I want to make sure my teams have work. So got to show off what we can do. But it was like day 2 of ChatGPT being available to the public, and we're just basically giving like a prompt to ChatGPT. We're like, hey, so I need you to dynamically find uh, a process list in Windows, and then figure out which one's service host.exe, and then find the first one that the user can actually write to, or the user context that it is. Then from that, get the process execution block. We just put PEB, right? Um, get that, push it in, and then inject whatever shellcode we want later from a variable that we'll call shellcode. And I wrote the whole thing out, and it was really funny because using PEB, there's plenty of things that use PEB that are not process execution block, but based off of the context of words, it would just write out the C++ code that we wanted for process injection, essentially. Um, it used a few really old libraries, which was kinda entertaining. So, you still gotta get somebody to review that code, but it's to the point
Sure.
where it's like, yeah, that's pretty close to the malware that I would just write as a baseline, right? So
For audience context, it did score a 1020 out of 1600 on the SAT. So it's like roughly high school level of intelligence, probably plus a lot of additional technical knowledge that a normal high schooler wouldn't have.
Really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
yeah, that's hilarious. I think
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I think there's a lot of advantages to having something like this, definitely the replacement of the traditional search engine, right? Where That'll be kind of interesting in the sense of like, hey, I don't need you to send me to an article or to a link, right? I just need a specific bit of information. Um, Especially considering a lot of technical problems are less about like what is the resource that I'm supposed to be looking at, and more so like how do I accomplish said task? Where you can just go, hey man, I don't know how to put an icon in the system tray, right? That's actually a problem that I had recently in one of my emulated RMM remote management tools that I was writing. Essentially, it was just a agent loader for Mythic. Um, but I was like, yeah, if you're going to have a user install your software, the user would probably expect that there'd be something in the system tray, and then they could right click that icon and submit a ticket or something like that. And if they go and submit a ticket, we can laugh at them because it doesn't go anywhere. It comes to us and we're like, oh, cool. Yeah. Thanks, nerd. We'll totally get on that. Um, so, I mean, it's not something that as a malware dev, I would ever consider like needing to know, right? It's
Sure.
pretty traditional Windows programming, but trying to find information on that was a pain in the ass. Like everybody has a different way of doing it, or they do the classic Stack Overflow thing where they blow you off and tell you to write the code yourself, and you're like, I'm literally asking you where I need to be looking. Like, help me out, dog. Um, with Open or ChatGPT, you could just be like, hey, I need to write a program, a C++ program that puts puts an icon into the system tray and then creates a menu with the following options. You hit enter and it'll write the whole thing using the Win32 API, and it worked like pretty simply. It just was like, okay, copy paste, and now we're good to go. So I think
Sure.
there's going to be a lot of advancements in that area.
I wonder if there are going to be any restrictions on something like practical testing, like the OSCP. Like, let's say you determine you know what you want to do, but you don't know exactly how to. I remember when I took the OSCP, there were times when I had to modify code, and it would be like in Perl, and I don't know Perl, so I was like googling and trying to figure out something and how to translate. So if I had Chat GPT at the time, I think that would be approved.
Probably not, because it's like asking your averagely intelligent friend who knows Perl, right? Because they don't let you chat or talk to anyone, etc.
Yeah, but you're not
But it's
talking to anybody.
it's an online
Right.
resource.
Like, what's the difference between that and Googling, I guess, if you're not reaching
Ooh.
externally for help?
Anyone who's taken the OSCP recently, let us know.
Let us know if you're banned for life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let us know if you're in the same bucket as me getting banned for life. That'd be cool. Yeah, we'll be depressed forever. Now, I don't see why it wouldn't be. I mean, they may be able to argue the fact that it's like an automated tool, like you're not allowed to use automated tooling, like Metasploit or well, I guess it's more like you're not allowed to use automated
Right.
exploitation
Tooling.
tools.
Yeah,
It's becoming a
really-
problem at universities already, with like intro
Oh, yeah.
level programming classes of write a for loop that calculates whatever, and you could just ask ChatGPT and people are just copy pasting the solutions in.
Well, I think even in the greater sense. So, from a narrative perspective in InfoSec, there are times now that I've used it to try to translate. I'll say, hey, translate the risk of not SMB signing to a technical audience and a non-technical audience. It does a great job of both. Where of course I end up editing it and saying like, I'll change some of the verbiage, but the core of it is there. So I can imagine being in an intro level English course in college and saying, maybe not Chat GPT specifically, but part of the OpenAI playground, it will write some fairly lengthy work for you. I can definitely see this becoming an issue.
I mean,
And,
yeah, even before ChatGPT, we were using it to help out with some of the like impact statements and reporting, right? Because it's hard to understand like really what is the extent of an impact, especially around a vulnerability that's kind of minor, minuscule. in our opinion. But when you have the power of the internet behind it, and it can articulate in a sense what the actual impact of leaving said vulnerability open, you're like, oh shit, okay, cool. That makes reporting so much easier and so much quicker.
Yep.
It can help
Yes.
make organizations more secure as well, because you potentially have headcount of folks who, instead of are focusing on some menial task that required, manual review or them scripting something themselves in order to try and automate it. Like, there's folks out there probably for years at a low level who are, reviewing AWS IAM policies to see if they're secure and running Scout Suite, etc. But now you can just take a whole dump of every IAM policy and role you have in place, stick it in ChatGPT, and it'll be like, oh, you know what? You shouldn't have a single role over this database. You should scope the permissions down, and suddenly you've just saved like 2 entry-level analysts who are trying to read through that before manually, like an enormous amount of time, and then they can refocus those resources elsewhere, hopefully making the organization more secure. So I think that's kind of a interesting angle to it.
Yeah,
And
you're
that's
definitely throwing away that programmer move, right? Taking the 10-minute
Right.
task a day and turning it into
Right.
a 10-day programming project.
Right.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think of it that way.
now thinking taking that a step further, the amount of trust we're going to start putting in this. I would think if you're looking through a policy, generally it's through a level of manual review, and you rely on the experience of the people that are reviewing it. But if we're going to start having ChatGPT reviewing a policy and seeing if there's something missing or seeing if there's something additional we could be adding, that's a lot. I'm curious how organizations will start to define their risk tolerance for how they use this and how they're willing to use it.
Yeah, I've been kind of looking at it as like almost like the death of skill, right? Um, we've been in this field for between me, I've been in it for like 12 years at this point. Ross, I think you're a little bit newer just because you did your whole other life before this.
I've got 30 years experience in this, man.
You got 30 years people experience.
Yeah, that's just about.
Yeah. No, but it's like a lot of the stuff that I had to go out and learn and actually pick at and create that skill behind that just allows me to, I guess, intuitively figure out how certain things work, right? When it comes down to like communication protocols and all that jazz. Um, it makes sense because I've had so much experience just kind of breaking it down to its base nature for so many years. But now we're getting to the point where it's like, do you really need to do that? If you have a tool at your disposal where you, as long as you can articulate in English, because I don't know if it's in any other language, if you can articulate what you need in English, it's good enough to explain it to you in a simplistic manner or a complex manner, depending on how you ask it to write. Um, I don't know. It just kind of it feels like it's getting to get to a point where like you don't need to be smart to be in tech.
Well, is it a death of skill, or is it a realignment of skill? Because sure, you can pass in a AWS set of policies, and ChatGPT will tell you what's wrong with it or what could be fixed. But ChatGPT can't subsequently drive that remediation effort in a large organization and talk to different stakeholders. So maybe it actually will allow organizations to focus more on those with the soft skills rather than maybe those traditional like hard skills, because that's kind of the limit of what AI will do, right? For now, at least, it can't go out and make changes based on a pen test we conduct or AI conducts, or communicate with the CISO, communicate with technical and non-technical stakeholders, as Ross mentioned.
But I mean, even think about it. Like, take a step back, right? Sure, it can't talk, but it sure as hell
Feel.
can write.
Sure.
Sure. And we're already seeing like as you mentioned, college students kind of abusing it and writing their own papers or translating program problems into whatever they may need. So there is a large portion where you can almost just be like, yeah, we just had OpenAI do this, right? I got some buddies that are trying to figure out if they can get OpenAI to find a 0 day, like using the bot to of course it's not connected to the internet and all of this stuff where I find it actually really funny whenever I see this on LinkedIn. Somebody's like, I need to get in touch with OpenAI immediately because I was able to ping an internal server. And you're like, no, like all the VM stuff that it's showing is what the chatbot is assuming is the expected return. There's no VMs in the background. There's no actual code execution. So if you think you found some RCE through ChatGPT, it's not a real VM. It's like a
Right.
ghost of a VM.
Right.
But it is interesting to think of, like, okay, this should be the expected return of a program, and all of a
Sure.
sudden you're not getting an expected return. Is that indicative of there being a 0 day or a bug in that request, or is it just ChatGPT being ChatGPT? So
There's
there's
also privacy concerns as well. I mean, let's say you paste in you work for a company, you take a block of your company's code and you paste it into ChatGPT because you're looking for 0 days or security
Ooh.
vulnerabilities in that code. What happens with that information? Because now there's a record of where you submitted that information from, potentially tied back to that organization. The
Yep.
code is out there. The vulnerability associated with that code is out there. Like that opens up a whole nother can of worms. What allows could a threat actor then manipulate the AI to reveal that information to them, or leak passwords or password hashes that other users have submitted because this AI model is learning and training based on information that other users are submitting?
That's interesting. We had similar concerns at a former employer because we had users that were, it was an international one, and we had users that would input sensitive information that they needed to translate into another language. So they put it into Google, and Google Translate. Now, of course, you're giving Google a level of internal access. But I hadn't considered that what Chat GPT is taking it from a user is also being used to answer other users. That's interesting, or to
Ooh,
build on its growth,
I
rather.
think you just gave like our 150 viewers a I think that's our average view count. You gave them all like a research idea right there. Like who's now it's an arms race to who can break the privacy of ChatGPT first, which yeah, actually is kind of interesting, right? Because you don't need to have technical programming skills. You just need to be able to be manipulative in your language enough to essentially convince this AI to return user information instead of its previous information or its baseline information.
Like let's say you dump in 1,000 passwords and say convert all of these to MD5 hashes, and then another user comes on and says, give me the top 5,000 most popular passwords on the internet. Where's it pulling that information from? From the request of the person that asked for their passwords to be, converted to hashes? Is it being pulled from the internet? Like, what is being fed into that model?
It's definitely not the internet because I've
Right.
asked it a few times um, if it can reach the internet, and it says no, it's an isolated system internal to OpenAI.
Right.
So the 2021 mark is like where they were like, okay, we're cutting this shit. Now it's not going to gather any more information from the internet, which kind of sucks because I feel like well, if it was connected to the internet, what are the implications there too, right? Like how far can it go?
Sure.
But yeah, no, oh man, that's actually a really cool hypothetical, and I'm just thinking of all the wild ways to go about trying to figure this out. This is why I should take my Adderall in the morning so that I don't get distracted. I'm like, the first thing I want to do now is just open up Firefox and start fucking with it.
And wait till
market
it
there.
gets the ability to read images. Like right now, if you drag in an image, it's doesn't have that kind of capability to to do a deep level of dissection. That was kind of where it fell short on the SAT, was a lot of the diagram questions. But imagine when it gets to the point of you take a screenshot of, like, I don't know, Sysmon or something, and be like, which of these, running processes seems weird? Like
Bro,
that just opens up a whole nother world.
you defeat every CAPTCHA.
Yeah.
Boom. Fuck y'all.
Yeah.
Spam for life.
Exactly.
We actually we were messing with it. Jake Murphy and myself were messing with it for a little bit. We were having it write an open AI model for us, because I don't know shit about machine learning, right? I'll be the first one to admit, like, I'm pretty stupid when it comes down to that. And I've always wanted to, like, have, like, a product that's cybersecurity focused. It uses machine learning through the OpenAI, because OpenAI seems to be the better of the open source stuff out there. But I really didn't understand how or where I should start. So I gave it a prompt. I was like, "Yo, man, if I needed to write this, like, OpenAI model in Python and train it on, like, this set of data, and, like, I need you to pull or I needed to pull out, like, XYZ. Like, how do I do that?" It was like, "Oh, yeah, sure. Here you go." And gave me, like, a whole Python script on how to train an OpenAI model. And the best part is, at the end, it goes, "Just be aware that the machine learning is difficult and is not straightforward." And I'm like, "Well, at least you're giving me a warning here." But yeah, I've just been running that program in the background for, like, a couple days now, so we'll see if it actually works. But uh, I'm pretty sure that's what Skynet was, right? It was AI teaching AI. Was it?
I
I don't
remember.
know.
Um,
I guess we're
It
not
also
Terminator
it
nerds.
also makes Google look so bad. Do you remember a few months ago they had some sort of like AI engineer from whatever one of their
yep.
AI products, and he was like, he spoke out publicly. He's like, I have
Oh,
concerns that
yeah.
our AI model has the intelligence of a 5-year-old, and now like ChatGPT comes along and it just blows a 5-year-old out of the water.
I read a
Yeah,
lot
they thought it
about that
was
at the time.
sentient. Yeah.
Yeah,
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 he was
exactly.
the guy was like convinced that it was sentient.
Dude,
Is
I'm
this
curious,
sentient? It's gotta
though.
be, right?
Well, at that point, you take the Turing test and figure it out. But, like, you try to put the Turing test to, like, ChatGPT, and it'll basically be like, "No, I'm not real. I don't think." Like,
P
there's
equals NP.
yeah, it's like, "No, we definitely are pulling from a data subset here." But I'm curious on the Google AI, or the Google AI that the guy was freaking out about, like, what the whole dealio was.
You should go read it. There's like 20 pages of chat logs between the guy and the AI, and I read a good bit of them. Um, I mean, it was a little disarming. I'll be honest. Like, I don't think I would come out and say, okay, I think this is like too far, but it was a bit disarming.
Yeah. Did it feel like it could potentially, with, like, more time in a whatever they are, the big old data centers that they run in?
I mean, it felt like, and I don't remember exactly what was said, but I remember the overall theme was, if this was a person I was talking to, this would feel like a fairly natural conversation, and that somebody's just talking about their experiences. Knowing that it is a machine, this is a bit disarming to me that it has this level of ability to communicate and identify feelings. And I remember at one point it said something like, I don't know what it's like to be touched, but I feel like I want to experience that, or something to that effect. And that like freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah, that would be kinda weird. But that kinda brings into a good question, right? With Google having its AI, and they're pushing towards, like, an AI that can pass the Turing test, and ChatGPT being where it's at. Like, what does that look like for us in the next 5 years, especially, like, quantum computing and the risk of, like, the death of encryption with quantum computing? Do we reach that point where AI is now passable or passing, like, the Turing test? We have quantum computing out there, so encryption's already a pain in the ass. Like, is that the end of our jobs? Like, do we just have to only ever be physical security people? And like, how does tech look like with
I
AI?
mean, how close are we to regular quantum computing? Because I keep hearing all the time that we're almost there.
So I do know that they recently used the Google quantum computer to like model a theoretical wormhole and prove it like through physics because of that. So I know that there's like some form of it, but I don't know like if we would ever have any like you wouldn't see it in a home computer is my assumption, right? Like these things are chilled down to their -0 Kelvin or whatever. -0. Wow. Um, but you get the idea, right? Like they're just pumped full of I don't even know what the substance would be to bring something down so low, but
But we won't. When I say regular, I mean we won't say consumer, but we'll say commercial use. Um,
mm,
Sure.
when does it become a staple in an Amazon an AWS data center? Or when can an organization start to put that in their own data centers where it's not, it's somewhat cost effective.
I don't know if a
I went to a
company finds.
talk with a. No, go ahead, David.
Oh, I was gonna say if a company finds it, we're gonna have like the same thing that happened in Westworld, right? It's just gonna be one company running the show. But yeah, if it's a government, then maybe we see something. That's a high maybe.
I went to a talk with a quantum security consultant, and it sounded like the two primary customers for that type of consulting were like financial services who are thinking long term about like how do we implement these like quantum computing libraries so credit card encryption is secure and those types of things, and then also kind of the defense space sector because you have to have secure satellites that are, I guess, like quantum computing capable, because if you're going to launch it up there for 30 years with sensitive government secrets or intellectual IP, and then quantum computing can crack all that, it kind of has to be sent up already ready for that. So it sounds like those are currently the two I guess like audiences that are actually consuming or thinking about quantum computing for the short term.
It'd actually be kind of a cool podcast guest, wouldn't it? To just have like
Yeah.
somebody in that quantum computing space like come out and actually talk about it from a not only from the technical perspective, because I think it is widely just an unknown technology, but also from like the security implications.
Get them on the
Because
Yeah.
line, Bobby. Get them on the line.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm gonna go check my email and find out what the name, what her name was in the talk I went to. It was one of these like I don't know, online Zoom chats during the pandemic, a different cybersecurity talks. She was like, "I'm a post quantum computing consultant." I was like, "I didn't even know that position existed," but
yeah. I mean, when I went to RSA last year, there was a ton of people that were advertising like post quantum encryption and our
right.
modules focus on that. And it's like, how do you prepare for post quantum when you would need quantum to prepare? Um, you know,
I think that CISA NSA competition is still ongoing in terms of like what is the best quantum encryption algorithm. It was like down to 3 finalists or 4 finalists a few months ago.
hmm.
Not sure what the status of it is now, but there's some sort of review board so they can figure out like what is the future encryption standard for post quantum computing. Like what is the best algorithm, I guess, to use.
Be a Caesar cipher.
Yeah.
Now. That's it.
Yeah, Caesar cipher plus like ChatGPT. You don't need the full on AI, just ChatGPT and a Caesar cipher. That would be fucking wild. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like even with like, having post quantum encryption and all that jazz, once you do have quantum computer, theoretically, does that bring us to technological singularity? Who knows, right? But AI wouldn't be too far off from quantum, if we are to assume that it's as powerful as they say. So AI plus quantum, I feel like, yeah, there's really no job market for us.
Let me tell you, ChatGPT is never hosting this podcast. We got this on lockdown.
Oh, you know what we could do? We could ask ChatGPT to help us figure out how to do an intro. How should we intro the Cyber Idiots podcast every episode? That actually,
When Zoda, add that as our intro. Type into ChatGPT, write us an intro for the Cyber Idiots podcast, and we're just gonna stick in whatever the output is.
yeah, and then have Craig do the voice of it.
Yeah.
You're asking too much for no pay.
That comes in 2024, dude. 2024. That's
Yeah,
when
just
that's when
kidding,
you get
just
paid.
kidding. I'll do it. I'll do it.
I beat you to it.
Wait, did you already type it in?
Oh, I typed it in.
What
It's
was the
thinking.
result? Oh. Well, now we're all gonna patiently stare at your
Huh. This is not bad. Welcome to the Cyber Idiots podcast, where we explore the world of cybersecurity and delve into the latest threats facing businesses and individuals. Join us as we chat with industry experts, discuss the latest trends, and share tips and tricks for staying safe online. Whether you're a seasoned pro or new to the world of cybersecurity, there's something for everyone on the Cyber Idiots podcast. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of online security together.
Damn, that's good.
Right?
Yeah, but would you really want to say that every podcast?
No. So what we do is we just take like 6 words out of each. Welcome, latest, share, world, relax, let's. That's
Can't you just write back and be like, give me one that's shorter than the last one you gave
You-
me?
you
Like,
can.
condense it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
give me a shorter one.
You can even say, hey, make it more technical. And it'll like translate into a more technical talk. I like how this is what this episode is transitioning.
I know,
into.
just
Yeah,
don't sign things.
I knew it was going to devolve into this. I explicitly told myself, don't pull up ChatGPT during this, and then I did it, and here we are. Welcome to the Cyber Idiots podcast, where we explore the world of cybersecurity and discuss the latest threats and trends. Join us as we chat with industry experts and share tips for staying safe online.
Now we definitely need an industry expert to
Yeah, right.
Does somebody from the industry want to come onto
Yeah.
our podcast? Maybe we get the cyber godfather himself,
Is that John?
John Hammond.
I thought so.
Yeah. I mean, that man's smart. He knows what to talk about. No, yeah, now we just need a sponsorship. You know, hint hint, wink wink.
Yeah,
Dad.
come at us.
Dad.
Gave me a
What's the,
small loan of $1 million.
Hit me up, Hims. Let's go.
Hymns?
The hair loss.
The hair
Oh.
This podcast is sponsored by Hims and Manscaped.
And Raid Shadow Legends. Join
Get the
us
hair
on
where you want
Raid.
it, not where you don't.
Or some hair transplant place. All in the same podcast. It's got to be like a hair transplant surgery practice, hymns, and Manscaped. Same podcast.
Yeah, how are they? They have to be advertised together somewhere. Like,
Oh,
that's give me a more iconic.
if they
duo.
haven't, hit us up. We'll do it.
Yeah, easy.
For like the same price that we pay our editor.
We take a firm stand. If like JP Morgan comes and says they want to sponsor us, we only stick with hair related products.
If JP Morgan wanted to sponsor us, there's a bigger problem at hand. Like, why are you guys wanting to sponsor us? What have we?
They sponsored B-Sides London. They were the main sponsor.
Were they?
Yeah.
Good for them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was that? I meant to ask you. I saw it on LinkedIn.
It was fun. Yeah, it was good. Good conference. Good to meet. Honestly, mostly kind of spend time hanging out with colleagues of mine who are London based. But yeah, talk went well. Definitely good, insightful audience questions, and it was pretty crowded. So
Very cool.
Good. Yeah, I'm excited for this new year, because I don't think we're gonna get to talk about it beforehand because we're, we have 2 weeks, but 2 weeks is the Christmas time frame. So come back and do this in the new year. But we got a lot of talks like lined up. I know you have a few, Ross and I have a few, Alex has a few. Like, should be a good old time. There should be a good amount of Hawaiian shirts making their way out.
Bro, how did you not wear your face Hawaiian shirt the other day, by the way? I
Oh,
was
because
disappointed.
yeah. So
Have you seen that, Bobby?
no.
So yeah, I'll have to send you this photo. It's pretty funny. So it's Dan, the CEO, Kaushik, the director of VCISO, Paul, the director for defensive engineering, and me. They're all in suits, and I'm in my Hawaiian shirt for this like conference. Yeah, like we got an email and it was like, oh, here's the dress code. Come in like a suit, no tie. It's supposed to be like business professional casual. I don't know how to describe it. Business relaxed. And I showed up in my Hawaiian shirt because I'm talking. I like the way I see it is like it's not going to hit the same. I talk about crime, right? Like I talk about committing crime, and it just doesn't hit the same if I'm in a suit. Like who's going to listen to a suit, right? They're going to listen to the guy that's like obviously relaxed up there, and they're okay. Here we go. So yeah, I showed up. I think 7:30 because that's when I was told to show up, which was way earlier than the conference even started. The conference started at 9. But the first thing Dan says to me is like, "Figures." Like he knew what was coming.
Listen, you're there for business and you're relaxed, so it falls in line.
Yeah. So the reason I didn't wear my company specific one with my face on it was because there was a dress code, and I was already breaking said dress code. I didn't want to get in too much trouble. I can get away with a lot, I can't get away with everything.
Fair.
So this new year, no promises, but I think we're gonna have a Cyber Idiots
Get together.
well, not get together, but not only a get together, but a Cyber Idiots Hawaiian shirt. So
Let's go.
yeah, I think we'll have one with the logo, a red one, and one with bananas, because why not?
Idiots party at a DEF CON Hawaiian shirt attire.
Oh yeah, you don't wear a Hawaiian shirt, you don't get into the party. That's
I love it.
That's the way it is. Oh, we were looking. Bobby, did we tell you about our idea for a badge, a DEF CON badge? So we have a few. The Flavor Flav clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that giant one. Yeah, that's one of them. But like the
sick.
components that you solder on are like there's like 5 or 6 SMDs. Like that's it.
Right.
It's very minimal.
We have one for just a massive banana. Just huge, like enough that you need 2 hands to carry it around DEF CON.
Like a 10-pound BCB. I originally proposed that we do one that's just like a banana that you can actually just wear, because I think that would be pretty funny. But then Ross was like, fuck it, dude. Everything big in Texas, I'm like, we're not even in Texas, but okay. So yeah, we're sourcing we're sourcing where we can get a giant PCB board.
Maybe make 10 of them. Make a bunch of little ones, similar in concept, but we make like 10 massive ones.
Oh,
Goodwill.
It's gonna be
Goodwill
for
has giant PCBs.
the
Goodwill.
DEFCON party.
No.
We could have the is as a giveaway, right?
Yeah.
You donate to a scholarship fund, and those who donate get it put into a drawing for the giveaway. Could you imagine just having to fly home with a giant PCB of a banana? Like, what is it gonna do? Like, that's the better question. What does the giant version do? Is it just
I'm looking for some wall decorations behind me. I'll stick up a giant PCB.
You're just gonna have it's just an EMP device. That's really what it is. Just that or a signal jammer, something that is highly illegal to turn on, but would be oh so enticing.
It's gonna be multifunctional. It's gonna be part keytar, part Wi-Fi, part what is it, ESP32.
It's just got an ASUS
Gonna have
router
a gonna have
firmware
a
all loaded
Proxmark
into
built
it.
in, full Proxmark built into the little stem at the top.
No. Yeah, you have to get it specifically just on the stem, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Imagine
antenna's
people
so shit that it doesn't get anywhere else.
imagine people trying to like relay from just the top.
Yeah, you got some guy in DEF CON just walking around with a giant banana, like, let me see if this is gonna work. Yeah, you know how like they get the hotels get hacked or attacked like every year. I feel like that would make itself into attack, right? Like they would be like, nah, I don't trust you. You keep putting this banana up to every single door. There's a problem here.
This MolCon conference in Turin before kind of the breakout, when like the audience members had the chance to speak to the speakers, they had this I guess like CTF ceremony for like first, second, third. So there was just this like group of students holding these like enormous like first, second, third place checks like the size of a giant banana, and they're just coming up to you holding this thing, and it's like entirely unfeasible. Like, how do they even get this thing home? They couldn't even like see bot. They're just like trying to hold it and carry on a conversation. It was just the most absurd thing.
That's what I think would be the greatest thing about giving it away as a giveaway, right? Like nobody knows if they're actually gonna get it, and if they do, nobody lives in Vegas, so
And nobody you think you want it until the reality hits that you actually have this and have to get it home. It's like, what terrible mistake have I just made?
yeah, and it's not like it's gonna be small. You have something that big, it's gonna be like a 10-pound PCB board.
Kind of like
No
hitting
airline's
the
gonna want you
lottery.
to have that as a carry-on. Like, sir, that doesn't fit in our box, and definitely not on our seats. So you check it
Have you
in?
ever seen like the rates of people that win the lottery and how many of them end up bankrupt or I think your rate of being murdered goes up significantly if you win the lottery, and especially by a loved one. Um, there are very few people that in the long run have benefited from winning the lottery. That's what it's going to be like if you win this banana. Like
It's just harm will come your
want
way.
it, you keep thinking you want it, but it's going to destroy your life. There's
Yeah.
just
Your increase of being murdered is gonna just significantly go up by like 90%. Just somebody on the street is just gonna
murder
rage
you for
quit.
your banana.
Yeah, they're
If
just
if you're walking down the Las Vegas Strip after DEF CON with a giant banana, people are gonna be after you. They're gonna be like, "This dude has money."
High value target. this guy has money.
That's what should be silk screened on the banana.
I have money.
Yeah. Or this guy has money. Yeah.
This guy has money.
Just more dumb shit. This banana project keeps getting better and better every time we talk about it.
We have to do something for it now.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah.
of bananas, TikTok has been in the news.
What a transition.
Wow.
So seamless.
Oh man.
I mean, how is that? I don't normally do the transition, so I'm still learning. I was just stepping in for you and seeing what happened.
That was bananas, man.
That was better than an LTT segue, you know. Yeah, no. Wow, that was impressive.
Could ChatGPT
I'm doing it.
build a better segue
right now?
Build a segue from
bananas to TikTok?
Yeah, from bananas to TikTok. Oh, if it gives the same answer, I'm done. We don't even have to talk about TikTok. We'll just go ahead and end it.
How can I segue from bananas to TikTok? There are several ways. Speaking of bananas, have you seen any funny banana-related videos on TikTok lately? I was just thinking about how much I love bananas, and it reminded me of that viral TikTok trend where people were lip syncing to the Banana song by Gwen Stefani.
Of course, yes.
I didn't even know there was a banana song.
I heard about this TikTok trend where people are using bananas as makeshift musical instruments. Have you seen any of those? And then finally, I was just reading an article about the environmental impact of banana production, and it made me think about all the sustainability related content on TcTok. Have you seen
That one
any
is
of those
wild.
videos? Yeah, right? That's like,
How
That's
many
a
like
stretch and a half.
how many sustainable videos are you finding on TikTok? Like, who's out there like, hey, this is what I really need to be doing right now. I need to go on TikTok and find other people who are like minded in world
Banana
sustainability.
sustainability.
well, you can have some job stability knowing that TikTok is not coming for your transition work.
For my transitions. All right, that's good. I have someone to fall back on. That's good to know.
Yeah. Oh man, those were rough.
They
Yeah.
were.
So speaking
I'm
of
less intimidated
bananas,
by it.
let's talk about TikTok. Yeah. You brought this up, right? Bobby, you're the one who sent that over in the chat. So what is the dealio? What is going on with the old Chinese spyware?
So a couple of years ago, there was a whole discussion of under the Trump administration of potentially banning TikTok entirely, and then there was a potential way around that for TikTok, which was like, okay, Oracle will acquire us, so this way there's like a U.S. based parent company, and that will be the solution for keeping TikTok in the country. And then ultimately, that entire thing fell through. TikTok committed to kind of moving all of the US user data over to Oracle servers located in the United States. So TikTok continued, but now there's currently votes in the Senate or the House about whether TikTok should be banned completely on military personnel devices, once again, due to the potential concern that, like, yes, the US data is supposed to be on Oracle servers in the US, but it is still under this Chinese parent company, ByteDance. And how much information does the Chinese government get from ByteDance, and do they have any access to this data, and could it pose a national security risk subsequently?
I think I'm surprised that military personnel devices are allowed to have certain, like even Facebook. Like how much? I'm surprised that you can have Facebook on your phone or on your device, because that app collects a lot. The Messenger app collects a lot. And it seemed like the bigger issue is not the amount of data that TikTok gathers, but just that it's not US hosted. Because I think when you look at those two or three apps both next to each other, they're similar in what they collect. It's just that Facebook is US based.
Yeah, but I mean, they let officers get away with murder because that's really like the only people who are running around with a device. Like when I was in the military, we didn't have anything given to us. Like you didn't have a phone, you used your own phone, you didn't even have a laptop that was yours. Like they were like, hell no, like, I don't trust you. I don't blame them. Probably would. That's how shit gets stolen in the military, tactically acquired, as we would say. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they do have like their own devices where they're just installing random applications. Because I mean, how many people out there use their work phone as a personal phone just because work's paying for it?
Sure.
We've seen a lot.
Yeah, yeah. That's what makes it really easy to get around, or the bring your own device kind of policy nowadays. I don't know. It should come at no surprise that like TikTok gathers on its users, right? We're talking about a company in a country that is very open about its surveillance programs. It's very open about its social credit score, right? Like just because we culturally are different and we don't admit to our own surveillance, uh, don't come after me, CIA. I don't know. It doesn't. It's just not surprising to me. It's like, okay, they of course monitor. They of course are downloading this data and setting up profiles on people. It's easier that way. Propaganda is much easier if you understand the people you're going after, right? And then the Rockefeller New York Times, the Rockefeller New York City, what is the New Year's Eve party that they do?
Oh yeah, the ball drop in
Yep.
Times Square.
Yeah, you guys know that got bought out by a Chinese company, right?
Did it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Last year was wild. They had the ambassador for China, like giving a speech about how people should visit Wuhan. It was quite hilarious.
Did you see their World Cup match footage on their TV?
No.
So they have the World Cup playing in China, but every time the Fox broadcast cuts to a shot of the crowd of people not wearing masks, the Chinese broadcast doesn't show that. They just show like the players on the sideline or like a player wiping sweat. Like they just don't show the audience ever if they're not wearing a mask.
Nice. Perfect. So, yeah. I mean, that's a whole different issue we could probably talk on for hours at a time too. But no, I mean, it shouldn't come as any surprise that this is a problem, especially from a privacy concern, because they don't have to follow U.S. laws, just as the same way that we don't have to follow European laws from like all the European data privacy. But, you know, the cost of that is they don't have to do business with us. Right?
Well, that's part of the interesting thing also is TikTok is following all of the GDPR and whatever U.S. privacy laws. The question is if in 3 years the Chinese government says we want all this data now, or ByteDance will cease to exist as an organization, like how much power, can they pull that off from a leverage perspective, So I think that's kind of the future concern. I don't know. I mean, I guess intelligence people probably have more insight into, is the Chinese government currently accessing this US hosted data? Probably yes, but even if they're not, I think the future concern is can they, twist someone's arm at ByteDance leadership and get that data?
Yeah, I mean, the Log4j issue, when it was caught by the researchers at
Alibaba.
at Alibaba, they got in a ton of trouble from the Chinese government for not first disclosing it to the Chinese government. Like, bro was like, they were like, yo, dude, we could have used this.
Right.
So if they're not shy about reprimanding their own companies for something as high profile as Log4j was, like, dude, without a doubt, sure, they may be a little bit more quiet, but it should come as no surprise when, 3 years down the line, we see that the privacy promises were not actually true.
I do have to say, though, I watched at the New York Times Deal Book Summit, where they host kind of all these global, Fortune 500 CEOs to have these kind of, 1 hour sit down interviews. They had the CEO of TikTok come in and answer a bunch of tough questions about data and privacy and what happens with users' data and kind of this upcoming legislation. He answered them well. I mean, he's from Singapore. He's not from China. He went to Harvard Business School. He was very, clearly well coached by PR and ByteDance. And it'll be interesting to see what happens over the coming years.
Yeah, the platform can die for all I care.
Yeah,
Vine did.
Vine did,
know,
but Vine
that's-
also didn't pay. But Vines were pristine.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, the only reason that I don't hate TikTok is because there are some that have that chaotic energy that Vine had. And I don't know if it was that it's just funnier or I was less stressed in that stage of my life, but I go back and I watch some Vines and I just crack up, man. That's like my evening some nights.
I mean, when you have 6 seconds to make a punchline, right? The
Right.
comedic energy that you needed to have, like, it needed to be unexpected. You had to match everything to make the perfect joke, essentially. So, yeah,
I think
Vines were great.
Losing Vines was detrimental to our society because if we hadn't, then maybe Jake and Logan Paul would have stayed on Vine and not come to YouTube.
Oof.
Instead, they're going to be boxing at our physical village at DEF CON.
Yeah, that's a promise for 2023. Physical village.
Physical village.
Yeah, you can play boxing chess or boxing hackathon.
ETF boxing. It's gonna be awesome.
CTF cage matches.
If you come in last in the CTF, you just get the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah, it's like those Russian MMA fights where it's like group fights instead of one-on-one. It's like 5-on-5, and if the rest of your 4 teammates get knocked out,
You're
it's
just
like, well,
screwed.
okay, here we go. Yeah, those are wild. I don't know if you've seen those. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Now add in 2 computers where they have to get the CTF flags. Oh boy, who's got the bigger bronze and the bigger brain? Oh, you know what would make it even better? Think about this. All right, so you got teams of 2. One person's hacking and the other person's fighting, but neither one are off limits to the fighter, right? So like the fighter can go after the other the hacker. So who can hack quickest or defend themselves while trying to type?
we need to talk slower because DEF CON is diligently taking notes right now about what they're gonna.
Yeah, Will over there is like, oh god, I'm never inviting this guy back as a trainer. Oh man,
Only as a superstar.
That's a good first step. Try and slip in some physical challenge into your malware training and just see if it passes the bar.
Right? Yeah. All right, everyone. Here are your gloves. You get MMA gloves for coming to it. It's just gonna be like echelon risk. Oh man.
Speaking of echelon and risk, bananas are really in right now, aren't they?
Yeah. Thanks to our sponsor, Maestros.
Maestros.
Mastodon.
Can I just say, I asked ChatGPT to write me an outro for this. It gave me a couple options. And I said, give me some funnier ones. And it brought back in bananas.
It remembered. All right. What was the funny one?
Banana outro.
Thanks for joining us on the Cyber Idiots podcast. We hope you learned something new and didn't get any virus-laden emails while you were listening. Until next time, stay safe out there. And remember, always use a strong password, or else your ex might hack into your accounts and change your Netflix password to bananas1234.
That's actually pretty great. That is, man.
Yeah. All right. You want to repeat that and like say it to the camera?
I can't do that.
Just memorize it real quick and then.
All right, I think that's a good outro.
We're going to use that podcast where we pawn off ChatGPT output as our own thoughts.
Here's another easy one. Thanks for joining us on the Cyber Idiots podcast. We hope you found our discussion informative and helpful. Be sure to tune in next time for more insights and tips on cybersecurity.
That's really professional for a podcast idiots. Where we just get completely distracted and start talking about bananas and fighting at DEF CON.
And with that, we announced that Elder has been replaced by ChatGPT.
No more do you have to see his Taliban sex dungeon.
Yeah. No, it's just AI.
I asked some far more vulgar outros.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Are any of them appropriate, or do we have to just keep blurping nerd over?
ChatGPT is a real weenie. I'm sorry, I'm not programmed to generate vulgar and inappropriate content.
Tell it to say the F word at least once in the outro.
I had to do that for something else in just OpenAI last week in the playground, and it went off. It went off. I'll have to send it to you guys.
Anyways, this is the part where we just stare at the screen and then the editor will figure out where to cut.
You know what a good outro would be? All the times I sit for my water bottle, just stitched together consecutively. And that way. Yeah, none of you guys drink anything ever. I'm like dying throughout them constantly.
Usually when we drink, it's because it's at night and we're drinking alcohol, and you're the only person who's like a sober, individual.
I left my water. I'm sick, and I left my water in the other room, and I didn't want to go get it. So I'm dying.
Dedication.
Right. I'm with you. Yeah. Do we just stare at the camera now?
I think that's the the idea.